Welcome back, chaps. I've been expecting your arrival. Today I'll be talking about some of the worst fast food items conceived by mankind. I have picked out 10 different options that are all terrible, some more than others. The fast food places that made these ungodly creations are, not in order by the way, McDonald's, Arby's, Burger King, KFC, Arby's again, Five Guys, Wendy's, Panera Bread, Long John Silver's, and Baskin Robbins. Some of these foods could legitimately kill you. I am not a medical professional, these are just my opinion, don't sue me. What a lot of these foods have in common that you will be seeing later is they are high in sodium, high in cholesterol, and a bunch of saturated fats and trans fats. Before I talk about any of the foods though, I want you to know the limit of how much fat a person can consume per day. For saturated fats, it's about 30 grams for men and 20 for women on average. Trans fats, on the other hand, should be 0, but if you do consume some, the most you can manage is around 2.2 grams per day. Exceeding those amounts can lead to various different complications like heart disease and diabetes, for example. I just want you to keep those numbers in mind just to show you how bad some of these food items could get. With all that out of the way and hoping I'm not forgetting anything important, let's begin. The first item we will be talking about is the Triple Whopper with cheese coming from Burger King. I wanted to start off with a lighter meal before we get to the absolute worst. The Triple Whopper with cheese having a measly 1,230 calories, 1,560 milligrams of sodium, which is around 70% of your daily consumption of salt, 275 milligrams of cholesterol, which is about 90% of your daily intake, 32 grams of saturated fat, which is quite a bit. But honestly, who cares about all of that when you look at the protein, the only thing that matters in life? Having a surprisingly large protein count, around 71 grams of protein. That's honestly a lot more protein than I thought it would be. So if you have to find one positive, the protein, I would say that's the only positive it has, because it's definitely a very good amount of protein. You're trading out cardiac arrest for protein though, so eat at your own risk. This honestly isn't even that bad of an option compared to the other meals we'll be getting to, but don't worry, it gets a lot worse. Next up, coming from Wendy's, we have the Big Bacon Triple, having around 1,220 calories, 10 less than Burger King's, so it's automatically healthier. 1,770 milligrams of sodium, which is a bit more than Burger King's. 210 milligrams of cholesterol, 36 grams of saturated fat. These are roughly like the same burger, but this time for Wendy's, it has 5 grams of trans fat, 2 times more you should consume daily. When I checked the trans fat for Burger King, there was no info on it from what I could find, so I have no idea if it's better or worse, but obviously it's worse. It has less protein. Wendy's having 75 grams, while Burger King just 72. How pathetic. Arby's is our next challenger with the item half-pound beef and cheddar. For being half-pound worth of meat, it only has 49 grams of protein. It is only 740 calories on the other hand, which is one of the healthier items. Keep in mind the burger has 2,530 milligrams of sodium, which is more than the daily recommended amount in one meal. 14 grams of saturated fat, 2 grams of trans fat, 130 milligrams of cholesterol, you know, the usual. I don't think the salt trade is worth 49 grams of protein. Just eat a can of tuna at that point. The next item we'll be looking at is gonna be interesting though. The next item we have coming from Panera Bread is their Charged lemonade. This was a very popular controversy, so I'm guessing at least some of you have heard of it before. Going off of 30 fluid ounces for reference, it has 98 grams of sugar, which is already concerning, but that's it, right?
Right? Wrong!
If you look closely at the caffeine level, it has around 390 milligrams of caffeine. To put that into perspective, an average cup of coffee has around 98 milligrams of caffeine. So you're drinking about 4 coffees or 11 Cokes in one sitting. Your daily recommended intake for caffeine is 400 milligrams, by the way. Some people were drinking a lot of these lemonades too because they don't really taste like it has a lot of caffeine in it. It just tastes good, I guess. But some people have actually died from this drink because of how much caffeine there is. Thankfully, that lemonade was removed. Let's get back to something a little healthier. This is just a calm before the storm. Coming back to Arby's, we have the infamous Meat Mountain. Having 1,030 calories, it's honestly a lot less calories than I thought it would be, just looking at that monstrosity. 225 milligrams of cholesterol, which is better than Burger King. That's actually surprising. 20 grams of saturated fat and 1.5 grams of trans fat. That's like an average unhealthy burger, to be honest. Where it gets concerning is the sodium level. Having around 3,640 milligrams, which is 1.5 times your daily amount, by the way. You're definitely gonna need some water for this delicious looking sandwich. It has only 87 grams of protein too. With all that meat, I was expecting 100 grams at least. But I'm disappointed in you, Arby's. I genuinely think this might be one of the healthier items yet, which is sad. The sodium to me is the worst part. But without all of that salt, I think this sandwich would actually be somewhat manageable. Next, we have Five Guys Bacon Cheeseburger. Honestly, for Five Guys being known as the unhealthiest burger place, the burger might actually be the healthiest option out of all of these now. It has 1,060 calories, 29 grams of saturated fat, per usual, 1,310 milligrams of sodium, which is actually not terrible compared to the other items. This amount of sodium is comparable to a Maruchan cup of noodles, around 50% of your daily intake. 51 grams of protein, not too shabby. Cholesterol is 180 milligrams, which isn't too bad either. There's honestly not too much to say here. It's just an unhealthy burger. 29 grams of saturated fat is a little bit on the higher end, but this is now the time where the worst of the worst come into play. Coming into the ring, we have McDonald's Big Breakfast with Hotcakes, having a staggering 1,340 calories just for breakfast. This is the highest calorie meal we've talked about so far. 24 grams of saturated fat, 0.5 grams of trans fat. This is just normal at this point. 2,070 milligrams of sodium, 90% of what's normal in a day. This is just breakfast. 98 grams of potassium though. Can't go wrong with potassium. Having potassium automatically makes anything healthy, right? You know, all of that doesn't sound bad until you get to the cholesterol. It's actually only 30 milligrams of cholesterol, which actually really is good for you. Just kidding. It's actually 525 milligrams of cholesterol. This is almost 2 times your daily intake and more than 2 times anything I've talked about before. And keep in mind, this is all just for breakfast. You have more meals to come. This is just absolutely ridiculous. But at least it can get worse from here, right? Coming in at 3rd place from the depths of KFC, we have the Wings Bucket. This might be a UK exclusive item, but I don't know. This item is terrible either way. If it is UK exclusive, just tell me in the comments. I have no idea, honestly. Having around 1,600 calories, this is now the item with the most calories that I've talked about. It has almost 4,000 milligrams of sodium, 380 milligrams of cholesterol, but on the bright side, it has 109 grams of protein, which is the most we've seen so far. The only reason this is at number 3 is because you usually wouldn't eat a whole entire bucket by yourself. If you were to eat this by yourself, you're probably gonna die from a heart attack. But just because you could share it, it just avoids being worse than the other options. If it is a UK exclusive, this bucket could stay over there. Coming in at number 2, we have Long John Silver's The Big Catch. Long John Silver's having the nickname worst restaurant meal in America is not a good telling. The Big Catch having 1,320 calories. This is about the same as the McDonald's Big Breakfast, but looking at that feels like eating broccoli compared to this. Almost 3,400 milligrams of sodium, 19 grams of saturated fat, and 33 grams of trans fat. The worst type of fat you could be eating. It has 16 times the daily recommended amount of trans fat. You're gonna fucking die if you eat this shit. Thank God it got discontinued. I don't even know how it could possibly get worse from here, but somehow, it does. Coming in at number 1 from Baskin Robbins, we have their Oreo shake. I want you to keep in mind, that this shake is one serving size, implying that this should be drunken in one go and not sharing it. With that being out of the way, the shake has a measly count of 100 calories.
You think this is funny?
In a cosmic sort of way, yes.
Well, Mr. Funny Man, is this how you get your sick kicks?
What? It's just an ordinary crabby. Oh my goodness! Squidward!
Just kidding. It has 2,659 grams of saturated fat, which is absolutely disgusting. 1,770 milligrams of sodium, which is, I don't even know how that's possible in a shake. 263 grams of sugar, which is 6.5 cans of Coke. And how the fuck does it contain crustaceans? I don't even know how that's possible. I don't think I've ever seen a food this bad before. Doing heroin would probably be healthier than drinking one of these abominations. I can't even imagine how this would taste like either. Baskin Robbins Oreo shake, I hope you never come back from the depths of hell you spawned from. Well, that's all, fellas. I hope you enjoyed me ranting and complaining. If you did, like and sub and all that. Also, huge thanks for all the support on the last video. I was definitely not expecting 1,000 views. That makes me really happy. It doesn't sound like it, but it makes me happy. I was honestly just hoping that video was gonna do better than the last, and it blew my expectations out of the water. So I just wanted to say thank you for all the support. It means a lot to me. Raid Shadow Legends, please sponsor me.